So I've been a nurse now for quite a little while, and I've been in substance abuse for a good little bit. And although substance abuse isn't necessarily mental health, I still deal with plenty of mental health issues as far as my patient care goes. A lot of people will probably disagree, but I will say yes, I deal with a lot of mental health. And here are some things that I have learned in my few years doing substance abuse nursing, or, as I'm about to talk about, mental health nursing. One of the biggest things that I have learned, and something that they did not teach me in school, is that you never really agree with the patient. By that I mean, you're going to be given a scenario, you're going to be given a question, you're going to be given something, and the patient is looking for you to agree with them, or you to answer them in a way that acknowledges that you are on the same page as them. I do not ever agree. I tend to deflect and answer the question or concern in another way that still they understand I'm listening, but I'm not agreeing at all to the situation. Even though they may or may not be right, you still don't want to tell someone with a mental health, someone who is having a crisis or something like that, you don't want to tell something that you're agreeing with them. You sort of want to keep them talking. And that leads me into my second point, and that is that typically, not every time, but typically, they're not trying to take it out on you, the nurse. It feels that way. It may feel that way, and someone may be angry, and it may be, sort of deflected on you. It's not you necessarily that they're angry at, unless you have done something, and that's one of the circumstances where, yes, you're the one who they're angry at, and you need to sort of put some space between you and them. But typically, they're not angry with you. Something else has set this individual off, and they are angry at that, and you sort of need to play investigator to figure out what it is exactly that they're angry at, and then sort of try to de-escalate, which is something that I will lead into now. I, myself, this is sort of just my practice, am very bad at de-escalating. And I never sort of active de-escalate. What I tend to do, and sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. A lot of times mental health is not the same either way. A lot of times you can be presented with the same exact situation, but in mental health, you can have two different outcomes. There's not a set outcome and set problem at any time in mental health. But what I tend to do, and the best manner that I have found myself to deal with sort of de-escalating and calming the situation down, is I try to actively listen. I try to listen to them and let them know I'm paying attention to what they're saying, and let them tell me everything it is that needs to be told. And I can remember times where it's blown up in my face. Yes, I'm thinking of one right now where I was a little bit worried, where the situation did not, maybe I let them talk too much, I'm not sure, but I tend to let them speak and let them say everything it is that they need to say, and I'm not actively de-escalating the situation. By actively de-escalating the situation, what I mean is I'm not telling them to calm down. I'm not telling them to, take breaths. I'm not telling them to, think calm thoughts. I'm not doing any of that. What I am doing myself, what I tend to do is listen. Let me listen to the entire situation, and then maybe, just maybe, hopefully, I'm picking up on verbal cues or body language to figure out what exactly the problem is, and then go from there. So I don't try to actively de-escalate. And like I said, it has blown up in my face because they've gotten to the problem and then gotten angrier, and then it really blew up in my face. That's happened a few times, but I can count more times where it's actually worked than more times where it's blown up in my face. These are just a few tips and tricks that I've learned, and something about it you can't just pick up by reading a book. And you can't just pick this up by, sort of listening to somebody. What you really sort of need is you really honestly need the experience in it. As a new grad, you're not going to be an expert in mental health. I am absolutely nowhere near an expert in mental health, but at least the experience is what you need, and sort of listening and looking at verbal cues and things like that. What you pick up with experience, you do not understand this, unless you sort of come from that background. You don't understand this as a new grad, which is hard on a lot of people. So, hope that helps. Thank you much.